If you don't know enough words, you can't speak a language. Period. No amount of listening, reading, or immersion will save you if you don't have the words to express yourself. So how do you fix this? In the next few minutes, I'll show you the fastest way to memorize thousands of words and actually use them in conversation. Let's get started. My name is Mikel Tellería Mujica, and I am a hyper-polyglot. I speak a dozen languages, and I developed a fast and efficient language learning system in the Innovation Center of the University of Deusto in San Sebastian, Spain. I've helped thousands of people learn languages fast. And this is the truth about language learning. Vocabulary is the most important thing. You need to learn more words, and you need to learn them faster. Because if you don't know enough words, you simply can't understand the language and you can't speak. So you need to learn more words. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do for that. If you ask any language YouTuber or language guru online how to learn vocabulary, most of them will say, just immerse yourself in the language, read more, watch more videos in the language, listen more, and speak to people. And all of that's fine, and it's helpful, but it's very slow. It's extremely slow, in fact. Reading and listening is painfully slow when it comes to acquiring vocabulary, because you need to already know a lot of vocab to be able to read and listen and understand the language to keep learning. And if you want to learn by talking to people, you will learn a few words quickly in the beginning, the ones that you need. You learn really basic vocab very quickly, but then you'll very quickly get stuck and you will stop improving, and you will always stay at the beginner level. So this is my advice. Yes, do all of that, immerse yourself, talk to people, read in the language, listen to the language, watch videos, do all of that as much as you want or as much as you can. But make sure you are learning vocabulary deliberately. Vocabulary should be your #1 priority, because if you don't know the words, you will not be able to speak and you won't understand what you read or listen to or watch. So you need to do more vocabulary learning. So how do you study vocabulary the right way? The best way to learn vocabulary and do it fast is by using word lists. I'm talking about frequency lists, the most common 1,000 words, the most common 2,000 words, 5,000 words, 10,000 words, etc. And you learn them as fast as you can. You study them using a combination of mnemonics, word families, spaced repetition, and speed reading. Let's start with word families. A word family is a group of words that are similar. They've got similar roots and they all look similar, like organized, organized, disorganized, organization, etc. That would be a word family. If you learn words in groups of similar words, you'll be able to learn a lot more words a lot faster, because once you can recognize one word, you'll be able to recognize all the other ones as well. Now, the difficult thing is remembering all the words, or at least one word of the group. And that's where I recommend using mnemonic associations. Mnemonic associations are the fastest and most effective way to memorize random words. Random words, words that you can't learn logically. There's no logic behind what a word sounds like in a foreign language if that language is not related to the languages you already speak. There's no way to logically figure out the meaning behind it. You simply have to learn the new word, right? So you can use mnemonics for that. Once you've memorized new words, you need to review them. And the best way is using example sentences. For every word you learn, read an example sentence. This helps you learn in context how the word is actually used in real life. And instead of just reading random articles or books or things like that, or watching videos, you review a list of example sentences of all the words that you have been learning from the vocab list. This is much more effective and time efficient. You also need to apply spaced repetition. You shouldn't just read it once, you should keep rereading that list of example sentences again and again and again. Space repetition is extremely important in language learning as well as when learning anything, really. And speaking of really powerful techniques, active recall is another technique you should be using. Active recall is, according to neuroscience, the most effective way to learn new information. This is how top students study. And it works really well for language learning too. Basically, you need to translate into the target language and then check for feedback. You do it with words and sentences you've already seen at least once. Obviously, you can't translate words into a language if you don't know the words before, if you haven't seen those words before. But seeing them just once and then trying to recall, trying to remember how to say those words in the target language and then checking if you said them correctly or not. This is extremely effective because your brain is solving a problem and your brain is filling the gaps, and you are learning from your mistakes because you make a lot of mistakes when doing this, but you'll learn very, very fast by doing this. Again, this is how top students learn, study. You review the contents you need to learn once, and then you test yourself again and again and again. Constant testing. And that's it. That's how you learn vocabulary fast. You use vocabulary lists ordered in groups of similar words, word families. You memorize some of the keywords using mnemonic associations, and then you review the lists again and again using example sentences. Space repetition. You do it not just once or twice, you do it dozens of times throughout several weeks. And you use active recall. You translate those words and sentences from your native language or your working language into the target language, the language you're trying to learn. Translate, you test your knowledge, you translate into the target language and then check. You keep doing this until you've learned the 5,000 or 10,000 most common words, and then you'll be able to understand pretty much everything and you'll be able to speak fluently. That's it. That's the fastest way to learn vocabulary in a new language. And again, vocabulary is the most important thing in language learning because if you don't know the words, you won't be able to understand or speak. So stop wasting time and start learning the smart way. You can try my 7-day challenge if you want to learn 150 conversational sentences to become conversational in any language in a week, in 7 days. The link is in the description. Apps, grammar books, flashcards, and they still can't hold a simple conversation. But if you follow this exact plan for 12 months, you will be fluent. No classes, no grammar books, no nonsense. Just a simple, proven daily routine. You don't need talent, you don't need to be gifted, you don't need to be living in the country, you don't need any of that. What you need is structure and consistency. In this video, I'm going to show you how to become fluent in any language in 1 year. From scratch. At home, on your own. Using nothing but your phone, your brain, and 45 minutes of your time per day. This is not theory, this is what I do. All day, every day. And what thousands of high performers are doing already to get fluent fast. Alright, so let's go. First, you need to understand this. There are only 3 core skills you need in order to learn a language. Vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar. In that order of importance. Most people get this wrong. They start with grammar rules. They obsess over verb charts and sentence structures and all of that. But the reality of it is, if you don't know the words, you will not understand the language and you will not be able to speak it. So vocabulary is by far the most important thing. So first order of business is learning more words. And what you're going to do is to learn 30 new words a day. Not by broad, not with flashcards, but with associations. Mnemonic associations. If you learn 30 new words a day with mnemonics, that means 900 words a month and over 10,000 words a year. That's more than enough to have deep conversations in any language on any topic. Now, step 2, listening. A lot of listening. Every day you're going to flood your brain with the sound of the language. And I'm not talking about Duolingo, beginner podcast, learn Spanish with Juan, that kind of stuff. No. Real native content for native speakers. Podcasts, interviews, YouTube videos. Pick a topic you like. Business, history, psychology, dating, whatever. Whatever you would listen to in your own native language, listen to that in the language that you're learning. All right? And in the beginning, you won't understand much. It's normal. Just keep listening every single day and keep memorizing your 30 words per day. And your brain will start recognizing patterns very quickly. And in 30 days, after memorizing 900 words, you'll understand pretty much 80%, which is a lot. And if you keep going, in 3 months, you'll understand pretty much everything. And then in 6 months, it won't even suppose an effort to understand anything. And in 12 months, you get the idea. Step 3, listening and repeating. 5 minutes a day, it's enough. Find sentences spoken by a native speaker that you like the way they speak, and listen and repeat them aloud. Each sentence 10 times in the beginning, and try to sound exactly the same. Copy the rhythm, the tone, the pauses, and keep doing it no matter what. 10-15 minutes a day would be better, but if you are short on time, 5 minutes a day is still pretty good. And this will help you develop fluency and improve your pronunciation, because you are developing muscle memory. And you're also improving your confidence because you're constantly repeating things aloud. You're speaking the language every single day, right? Speaking of fluency, language islands. Step 4. These are your personal conversation scripts. Every day, pick one topic from your life, your job, your hobbies, one of your hobbies, your whatever, childhood, family, goals, whatever you normally talk about, and write around 20 sentences about it. The more the better, really. You write it in your native language, you translate the sentences then into your target language, and then you repeat them aloud. And you review the older ones as well. Right? And in 30 days, you'll have hundreds of personalized, high-frequency, relevant sentences burnt into your memory. If you do this, when you then are in a real conversation, you already know what to say because you've said it 100 times already. So you'll say confidently and fluently. And that's it. That's the daily routine you need. 30 new vocabulary associations per day, listening, a lot of listening while doing something else, 5 minutes of sentence shadowing every day, 1 new language island script per day, and you can do this in 30 to 45 minutes a day. While cooking, while walking, commuting, whatever, you listen to the language. And if you stick with this, here's what will happen. In a year, you will have learned more than 10,000 words. You will understand 99% of what you hear easily. You'll speak with confidence. You'll flow in the language. And your pronunciation will be pretty good as well. No classrooms, no exams, no apps. Again, just you, the internet, and a system that actually works. How do I know? Because I've used this to learn over 10 languages. So have my students. And so can you. So you can try it for a week, see how it works. Do this for 12 months and you'll never need another language class again. If this helped you, hit the like button and subscribe if you're serious about becoming fluent fast in whatever language. Let me know in the comments what languages you're trying to learn and if you need help with anything.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to use mnemonic associations to memorize vocabulary quickly. Memorizing vocabulary, memorizing a lot of words, is extremely important if you are trying to learn a foreign language, because if you don't know the words, you will not understand and you will certainly not be able to speak. Yeah, that's clear to anyone with half a brain. So you need to learn a lot of vocabulary, and the fastest and easiest way to do it, maybe not easiest, but the most effective. It becomes the easiest once you master the technique. Is this is the most effective way to do it. So basically what you need to do is you take the meaning of the word. So you've got the words there in English, and then here this is Japanese, written using kanji, and then also phonetically. We'll look at it phonetically because you don't. At least I can't read kanji, and probably you can't either. And if you can, well, then go learn some other language because you already speak Japanese, I guess. But yeah, you shouldn't learn kanji before you learn to understand. Before you're able to understand spoken Japanese, it's a waste of time. Like, why do you want to be able to read something if you can't speak and understand the language? Yeah. But anyway, memorization technique. Basically, we visualize the word, and then we visualize something that sounds like the new word. So we have to associate God with Kevin. I guess this is pronounced okay. Kevin? I don't know. This is not that important to like get the pronunciation 100% right, because once you memorize the words, even if the pronunciation is wrong, and it will be wrong often, you can start doing a lot of listening and you learn the pronunciation if you know the words already. If you listen to the language without knowing the words, it's going to be a waste of time. But if you have memorized hundreds or even thousands of words, then listening will be much easier and you learn pronunciation that way. So with the God, you visualize God, someone being a God, I don't know, some sort of gods in front of a door or something like that. Whatever. You can use scenes from films, series, things like that. Someone calling for gods, I don't know. Any kind of film scene works. Whatever comes to mind first. And then Kevin. First thing I can think of is Kevin. So you probably know some Kevins. So you imagine, you visualize one of those Kevins that you know being arrested by the guards, for example. You visualize it. But you have to visualize it. The more vivid it is, the better. The more likely you are to remember it. Yeah? And that's it. And now you know that Kevin is God. And then we have Kibun, which is mood. And Kibun, or Kibun, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but yeah, Kibun. Let's say it like that. If there's anyone who speaks fluent Japanese, let me know in the comments if my pronunciation sucks. I can't think of anything that sounds exactly like Kibun, but I can think of kibbutz, like those farms in Israel. Everything is shared, those like collective farms. And bun sounds like bun. Well, it's written exactly the same, like a burger bun. So, bunch of people in a kibbutz looking at burger buns, and they're all in a really bad mood because the burger buns are not kosher or something like that. You have to, like, the stupider the story it is, and the more detailed, the more likely you are to remember it. Yeah. And this is very personal, by the way. I normally use words not in English. I use words in English as well, but I use words in Spanish or my native Basque for this because, and also it's easier to remember, and I've got more vocabulary. And also, I use names of people, names of places, characters from shows, games, things like that. Anything that comes to mind, like the easier, whatever you normally think of, just use them if it sounds like the word. Yeah. Okay. Total. How do you visualize total? There are different things that you can do with these abstract words. Total. Any kind of film title with total on it. Total Recall. It was this mixed martial arts event, Pride Total Elimination, ages ago. Yeah, I'm that old. I used to watch Pride. Not the parades. I mean the MMA show. The Japanese one was really cool. Yeah. So like Gokei, like Goku, Dragon Ball Z character, I can visualize him as one of the participants in the Total Elimination. It was, by the way, if you like combat sports, go watch the Pride Total Pride in general. It was really, really cool. It was it ended in the mid 2000s, but yeah, it was like Crocop and Nogueira and Fedor and all those Vandalizil. It was really fun. Also, like they made it really. Basically, it looks like pro wrestling, like WWE, but with real fights, and in Japan. So it's like real fights. Anyway, I digress. I do that a lot because of my ADHD, but it can also be helpful for visualizing things because I'm very creative. Crap. Okay, kuso. Crap is easy to visualize. Kuso. Visualize someone kissing crap. There you go. Crying. Naku. Nike. Yeah, Nike is good for that. So someone crying over some Nikes. Either they didn't get the Nikes, some kid crying because they didn't get the Nikes, or the Nikes got ruined, or something like that. Toriku. Toriku. It's basically, yeah, you get these words. If it's a cognate, which means a cognate means a word that's the same, just like organization is organización in Spanish. You don't need to associate that. You know what it is. And in Japanese, you get a lot of these words that are the English word pronounced the Japanese way. I think this is like toriku sounds like trick, right? So you don't need to visualize. Pressure. Atsuryoku. This one's gonna be more difficult. Atsuri. I can think of stuff, but it's like Atso is like old woman in my language, but like it's quite pejorative. But we still use it a lot. We're much less PC in Basque and in Spanish as well. Like pressure is like a pressure cooker or something like that. Or like underwater pressure, like that submarine that exploded because it was like it went too deep recently. So like Atso and then Reich. I'm full of bad ideas. Like nothing like everything. The thing is like you can think of the most offensive things possible for these associations, and also those are fun to visualize and they're also memorable, and nobody's gonna judge you because it's just all on your mind only, right? So yeah, you so I'm trying to think of something in English, but I don't normally do this in English only. So yeah, old woman in my language, and then Greek. Sometimes you can't really think of anything good, so you can skip them because it's better to do as many of them as possible instead of getting all of them, because you learn vocabulary in context anyway. Yeah, once you know a lot of vocab, the ones that you couldn't create an association for, and also this one, I'm not gonna do it right now, but you can go to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, give me 10 words in English that sound like the Japanese word Atsuryoku, and it will. I'm not gonna do this because then I'll just like I can't switch from yeah. This is basically a shitty long screen recording, so I can't do that. But yeah, basically, I'll put a prompt in the description of the video. You simply tell ChatGPT, I need words in English, 10 words in English that sound like Atsuryoku, and then you substitute Atsuryoku for whatever word in whatever language you're learning, and you'll get some ideas. But I don't depend too much on ChatGPT because I mean, it will give you some ideas, but then you need to actually visualize it. right? So it's better always to use things that do have some meaning for you. Ideally, names of people, places, experiences, things like that. Next one, arm. Again, ude is water in my native language. Like an arm made of water, it's really weird looking. Yeah, it's easy for me. In English would be, yeah, again, it's more difficult. This is why you should always do it in your native language, or use, yeah, names of places, people. If you speak multiple languages, English is not your native language. Let's say you're from, I don't know, you're from India and you speak Hindi and Tamil and whatever. Use words from those languages. Or if you're Swedish, you use Swedish. You get the idea. Dressed is minari. Mina is mine. And Ari is Ari is a name, right? Actually, I do know one Ari. So yeah, I visualize him getting dressed as a miner. Yeah, so min Ari, and then going in the mine. Yeah, that's it. Taste aji. Aji. Aji? How do you pronounce it? Aji. Ajo is, which is AJO in Spanish. Basically, it looks the same, except with an O in the end. That's garlic in Spanish. So you don't. This is another way of doing it. By the way, this is a good example. You can also feel things. You don't have to visualize only. You can also imagine feeling cold, or like in this case, taste and like imagine like tasting really garlicky in your mouth. Ajo. Sabe ajo. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, I like garlic. But yeah, so you can feel cold, or you can feel angry or really hot. This also, or horny or whatever. This also works. Like it doesn't. You can use smells. You can use any sense really. You can use sounds as well. You can imagine songs if the name of the song is similar to the word. Yeah, you can just memorize, visualize, or not visualize. Like imagine that song playing in your head while you visualize the word. Yeah, use whatever, any of those, any sense. Normally, visual is best, but you can use like, taste of garlic in your mouth, aji, ajo, yeah, aji. Kubi, which is a cube. So someone's neck, which is like a cube. Sounds kind of dumb, right? But if you want to be really gruesome, you can also visualize Cuba with that, and then visualize Fidel Castro and Che Guevara like cutting a bunch of people's necks. And there goes the monetization, I guess. But now you'll remember that Kubi is neck. Minami. Wasn't Mini Me the guy from like the bad guy, the small guy from Austin Powers? Austin Powers? Austin Powers was that stupid film. Like the guy, the bald guy with the gray suit, and then wearing the gray, and then they have like smaller clone, Mini Me, right? Like that guy with holding a compass that points south, for example. Like you can clearly see south there, or a GPS, and you can see they're going south. Or like him in the South Pole, in Antarctica, something like that. Mini Me. Yeah, that was it's a film I haven't watched in a long time. I don't really watch films anymore, to be honest. Something. That's it. Nani. They always say that like what in anime and stuff, right? Nanika. Something. Nanika. Annika used to be a girl. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you. I already have a mental image, but I'm not gonna tell you this one. Kangoshi, kangaroo. Yeah, kangaroo, and then she. Yeah, kangaroo acting as a nurse. That's probably enough to remember this one. Ideally, you'd find also something that has a she sound. She, like ash. Like the kangaroo drops an ashtray. There's ash everywhere. The kangaroo's just like working in an hospital. Kangaroo's a nurse. Race, ageru. Geru. I think I'm gonna use another Dragon Ball Z reference. Was it Gero? Gero. Anyway, it was Gero. It was the bad guy, the scientist who created all the robots that wanted to kill Goku. That's like easy to visualize for me at least. If you watch Dragon Ball Z, then for you as well. Yeah, I can visualize him giving a paid raise. I mean, I don't think he paid them, but to all his minions, robots. They end up killing him as well. I think if he gave them a raise, maybe they wouldn't have killed him. Takusan, yeah, lots. Taco, lots of tacos, and then san, some saint. Like visualize. Are you Catholic as well? No, probably not. Yeah, if you go to one of the churches here, it's just saints everywhere, like statues of saints. So like visualize one of them holding lots of tacos, lots and lots, like more than he can hold, and that's it. Like Taco San, Saint Taco, Mister San. So San is Mister. Okay. Whoever. Yeah, these are weird because unless you've got because they're not easy to visualize, right? One thing you can do is think of a film, like a scene where someone says that, and it's a scene that you really like, and that it's very easy to visualize, and then you can learn these words like that. Yeah, like whatever, or like I don't know, these kind of words. You like a famous character saying it, and you have that mental image, and then you associate that mental image with something that sounds like there, dear, demo. Those are easy. Breaking Bad, Yaburu. So buru is head in Basque. In fact, we've got like this. Lauburu is the foreheads, is the like swastika looking thing it's a national symbol here. It's not a swastika. It looks pretty much the same, but it's different meaning, obviously. But I can visualize that being broken, or like buru is head, so like someone's head getting broken or breaking. someone's name that starts with Ja or Ja, like some Jack. Jack's. I didn't know what Jack. Jack's head being broken. Yeah, that works for me. Again, this like voodoo is not like you didn't know that voodoo was head in Basque, so obviously that doesn't work for you. But if you think a little bit, you'll find words that sound like that in your own language or in English if you're not a native speaker. And if you can't find anything, you can always go to ChatGPT and ask it to give you words that sound like Yabudu. Again, fairu. Yeah, it's file, but pronounced the Japanese way. Roku. Again, seems like the same. Wine, same. Kaku. Coke. Visualize some writer, some famous writer. And they're doing lots of coke and then writing, like they're really like high energy, like shh, I write 3,000 words a day, and like yeah, like J.K. Rowling. No, maybe not J.K. Rowling. Like who's that guy? Who's like whatever happens every morning? He was Stephen Hawking, Stephen King. Yeah, one of those best-selling, like mass-produced book writing authors. Yeah, visualize a writer writing while being on coke and doing lots of coke. Okay, I mean, if you, I always think of like the worst shit, but like it makes it more memorable. Spot, bash, bash. Can't think of anything. Katei suru. Assume. Yeah, these ones you have to again think of some scene or something like that, because these are not easy to like. Someone saying like that's my spot, and then they get yeah, not easy. Asleep, nemute. Yeah, sleep is easy to visualize, and nemute is Nemo, fish, and tea. Nemo's sleeping, it's got tea. We've been doing this. We've been at this for a while already. I think this is enough. But you get the idea, right? We've done what? Like how many of them? I wasn't counting. This is something that you need to practice and do a lot of them. And the more of it you do, the easier it will get. And then review it occasionally. But for the most part, if you listen to the language regularly, just put some podcasts on, all these words, because you always get people in the comments, being like, then but you forget them in a couple of days, blah blah blah, this and so on. It works if you listen to the language regularly. If you're listening to the language, you'll hear some of these words and you'll recognize them in context, and then after listening to them a couple of times, you remember them forever. And some of these associations, if you've got really good mental images, you remember them forever. I still remember some weird stuff that I used, that I imagined when memorizing Russian verbs, like the 100 most common verbs. When was that? A long time ago, years ago. I still remember them. And some of them are verbs that I've never used, but still, if the visuals are good, you can't remember them. So, talking to cameras does the work. Yeah, this is basically it. You take the meaning, take something that sounds like the new word, you glue them together with the most visual and vivid and shocking image possible, or weird image possible, and that's it. And that will make you remember. And that's it. You keep doing that daily with 50 words, 100 words, as many of them as you want. If you time yourself and you can try to beat your numbers every day, like you do it for half an hour and keep track of how many associations you created, and the next day you try to do a little bit more, the next day a little bit more, you can get really good at this, and soon you'll be able to memorize a lot of words. And then if you listen in, you'll remember them, and that's it. It's not that complicated. Anyway, I hope this was useful. If anyone, and again, if me saying it here, it's not very useful. But people keep asking about this specific technique all the time. Me saying it here at the end of the video doesn't matter much, but come rewatch this video if you are struggling with this particular exercise. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.